You have tractate Megillah for Purim. We don't have a tractate for Hanukkah. We don't have Rabbi, who was the coder who compiled all the Mishnayos. We don't have Mishnah. There's Gemara about Hanukkah, but we don't have Mishnah, the Mishnah pages connected to Hanukkah. How come? What happened? Why is Hanukkah deleted from the Talmud? Now we do have a Gemara about Hanukkah, but it's incorporated in a different tractate. It's found in Tractate Shabbos 21b. Why is it that? Well, first of all, a good question to ask. How does Hanukkah fit into Shabbos? Anyone? How would you think that the laws of lighting candles on Hanukkah are connected to the laws of Shabbos? In what way? How would it fit into the whole tractate of Shabbos? Not found anywhere else. Yes.
Because we light candles for both.
We light candles, and there's a certain rule of what kind of candles, what kind of oils to use and not use. The ones that can burn well, don't use for Shabbos, because what happens if you're sitting by an oil lamp and it's not burning so well, you might forget on Shabbos to adjust it. So there are rules. Likewise, by Hanukkah, there might be the same idea. Don't use bad oils, they won't last that long. So it's interesting, before the Gemara that we're going to be learning is not discussing on. I'm going to be discussing the famous disagreement between the Academy of Shah and Hillel, whether we light one and we go from 1, 2 to 8, or we start the first night light 8 candles, we go down to 1. But before we get to that, there is a subject that talks about what happens if the candles do go out. For example, the Hanukkah, you put enough oil in there. There's enough oil to last for hours. For some reason, maybe the wind blew, kids are running around, and it happens that the candles go out. Are you obligated to rekindle it again? Yeah?
Yes, not obligated, but you can.
Well, of course you can, but we're not obligated. And that's strange.
You're not obligated?
Not obligated. We do. The minhag is that we do.
Oh.
But if you didn't, as long as you had the potential, as long as the oil was there was enough oil to last for more than a half an hour, you did your mitzvah. So that seems to be anticlimactic of Hanukkah. Wouldn't you want to say that no, the Hanukkah lit has to remain lit? If it goes out, you've lost your Hanukkah mitzvah. Why do we focus on saying that, you know what, light it, and if it goes out, you're okay? It doesn't seem very Hanukkah-dic to say such a thing. And the Gemara concludes that the halacha is, as long as you lit it, even if it doesn't last, the halacha is that you have fulfilled your obligation. So I saw there's a very interesting answer to this question that really tells us how great Hanukkah is and how great the Torah is. Hanukkah represents the light of Hanukkah, as opposed to the Greek philosophies, represents the light of Torah. Not secular studies, but Torah studies. The Greeks wanted to Hellenize Judaism. And you want to learn like you learn any other subject. Take out the holiness. There's no God. Use your brains. Yeah, we'd like to learn your Talmud also. Let's interchange. We'll have you study Greek philosophy and you teach us some Talmud. We'll get a degree. We'll get a bachelor's, maybe a PhD in Talmud. But strip away the holiness. That was their... So Hanukkah represents believing that Torah is not just a subject, like a secular subject, but it's also holy. It's divine. Where do we see a major difference when you study secular sciences or whatever subject it is versus Torah? One of the differences is like this. Imagine if you have a scientific theory that becomes proven to be bogus, erroneous. It's wrong. We thought it was right, and then it's proven to be wrong. Do you ever study that again? No, it's out. Garbage. You throw it away. If it doesn't last, if it's proven to be wrong, you discard it. In Torah, if you learn a supposition, let's say you learn, and first of all, you learn an opinion that we don't follow. There are a lot of opinions in the Gemara that we don't follow them. But yet, if you open a Gemara and you learn it, you have to wash your hands in the morning before you learn and make a bracha. Even if you learn something that the Gemara considers to be a mistake, the Gemara says this is wrong, and it corrects itself. Even the mistake is holy too. You know what that represents? The idea that even for one moment, the Torah words were in your mind absorbed Torah, even if it's proven to be not according to halacha. We don't follow this rule. In fact, the Gemara will even say it's erroneous, it's wrong. It remains. So even if the light seems to go out, the light that you witnessed, you understood something in the Gemara, and then you right away see, hey, the Gemara just rejected it. But even if you don't get the answer, even if you just learn the rejected part, it's considered Torah learning. In secular studies, if you learn the bogus theory, that once upon a time held the world was flat. And now we laugh at that. You're not a scientist, you're nothing. There's no, if it doesn't remain, if the theory is not going to remain, if the theory is extinguished, if it, like the light goes out, goodbye. But in Torah learning, even when the light seems to go out, because the Gemara has just proven this is not the right understanding, it's still Torah. Even the so-called wrong understanding, if it's incorporated in Torah, it's still considered Torah. That's why the Chanukah lit, which represents Torah, tells us, even if the Chanukah lit goes out, if the Torah idea that you learned is no longer considered correct, it's still holy. That's what's so unique about Torah learning. Even a subject, which the Gemara itself says, erase that. Even if you wake up in the morning and only learn those few lines, which turns to be wrong, you have performed the mitzvah, you have to wash your hands before you learn that piece. That's so unique. You don't find that in the secular world. So we're fighting the Greeks. The Greeks believed in secular studies, and Hanukkah represents Torah. Therefore, the halacha is that even if the light goes out, the fact that it lit in your head, your mind absorbed for 1 minute an idea of Torah, I don't care if 5 minutes later it's proven to be wrong. The fact you had that idea in your mind, that itself sanctifies the person. And how many times we learn halakha? I mean, you asked me about Gemara, that, what's your first name again? In the back? Hello? What's your first name?
Isabella.
Isabel. So you asked me about which Gemara is not to learn.
Yeah.
Well, I would suggest the Gemara that discuss things that are irrelevant today completely. There are Gemaras that discuss about the rebellious child that has never happened and never will happen. There are many things that the Torah talks about you have in Gemara that are not pertinent, will not happen, never happen again. And yet, it seems like the light has extinguished. It has no relevance to my life today. So why should I learn it? Would you learn secular studies that have no relevance to anything? No. It's foolish. But in Torah, even something that can never materialize. But if it were to materialize, the halacha would be so and so. Learning it is a mitzvah. I give an example. The rebellious child, you know the story of the rebellious child? Child rebels against his parents and steals from his parents and eats something, eats like a glutton. There are rules that he has to be warned. And if he doesn't heed to the warning, it can be a death penalty. That has never happened, and the Gemara says never will happen. Still, if you learn that halacha, that will never happen. There are too many conditions that cannot happen. Yet, it's only hypothetical. It's theoretical. Yet, it's a mitzvah to learn that Gemara also. But for women, I would say leave that last. That's what I would say. I give you all different places. You can skip those Gemara, but what I'm trying to tell you is that the Chanukah, the light of Chanukah represents the light of Torah, which is so uniquely different than the secular lights. Which, if it doesn't have relevance, we don't talk about it. We don't learn about these things. If it has no relevance in my life, it can never happen. It's a hypothetical. It's impossible to ever materialize. Why study it? Or if it's proven to be bogus, a theory that's wrong, erroneous, why study it? In Torah, even the wrong, so-called wrong ideas are holy. So even if the light is extinguished, it's still considered holy. Let me ask another question that has nothing to do with what I just said right now. Give me a common denominator between Hanukkah and Pesach. How are Hanukkah and Pesach somewhat similar?
By the days?
Okay, but Hanukkah and Sukkot have that in parallel more. There are 8 days of Sukkot, really 7 days Pesach, because
Right.
the 8th day is only in diaspora. The only other holiday that has 8 days is Sukkot. Okay, but how is Hanukkah and Pesach? You were raising your hand before I asked this question.
Well,
Okay,
the answer, because the miracles are like, both miracles are like too loud. The
loud.
miracle of Pesach, like we being freed,
Uh,
and Hashem opening the waters for us.
Okay,
and
well, I hear you. A little bit too general. I mean, more specific. They're both related to chinuch of children. Pesach is all about the higad telavincha. Tell your child, the four sons, ask, and we do things that are weird to get the kid to ask questions. It's all about ask, ask, ask. You're free. Slaves can't ask questions. A slave has to do what he's told. Don't ask, they're here. Don't you ask. I'm the boss. Once we're free, Pesach is the holiday of our liberation. We're free to feel comfortable to ask. And the teacher shouldn't get uncomfortable when the child asks and say, when you get old, you'll understand. That's wrong. Very bad chinuch for a teacher to tell a student, you have no right to ask. When you get older, then we'll talk. No, let the student feel free to ask all the questions. You might not get all the answers. And there's no mitzvah to get all the answers. The mitzvah is to search, not to be happy with complacency. You know what? Apathy. So I don't get you. I'm not interested. Be interested. Ask. Let it bother you. Ask, please ask. That's why the mitzvah interesting. How do we start Pesach? With bedikas chametz, with searching. What happens if you don't find anything? And you made a bracha on the searching. Was it a bracha in vain? No. It's only if you don't search. If you make a bracha on the searching and you fail to search, that's a bracha levatala, bracha in vain. But if you search it, you're not mechuyev to find anything. You're mechuyev to search. Pesach is about searching, seeking. That's why, when I ask the 4 questions, what's the answer to the 4 questions? You have to look for it. It's hard. The answers are very vague. The questions are clear. Hanukkah is just the opposite. Hanukkah is the holiday of clarity, of certainty. It says that the light that Hashem hid when he first created the world, I mentioned that 2 weeks ago, the light that Hashem created the world with, which he put away because it was too intense, the Hanukkah light, the days of Hanukkah reveal those lights. Those lights reappear, at least a taste of it. So Hanukkah is all about certainty, clarity, answers. No more questions. And there's one question. That's why we find in Hanukkah there are a lot of questions, but for each question there are about 100 answers. It's a holiday of answers. Clear, because Hanukkah is connected to Mashiach. In fact, it says if the Chashmonaim would not have messed up, the Chashmonaim were the heroes. Right? The Maccabees, the heroes. What did they do wrong? Anyone know? And this caused this destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. They made a very bad mistake after all the great things they did, and they were, they were the ones that were instrumental in the whole miracle of Hanukkah. But yet they did something very terrible afterwards. They failed to appoint a leader from the house of Yehuda. They're Kohanim. Mashiach cannot come from Shevet Levi. They're from Shevet Levi. These are Kohanim. Hashmonaim were Kohanim. If they would have appointed someone to be the leader, that person would have been Mashiach, and that would have been the end of Golus. Hanukkah was the most opportune time for Mashiach to come. So it was the failure of the Chashmonaim that caused that instead of Hanukkah being the time for Mashiach, they started being influenced, they started involving themselves with the Romans, Roman influence, and then it deteriorated until it caused the destruction of the second Beis HaMikdash. So it's actually interesting. In the article I have here, it says Hanukkah deleted. And it's a powerful article. You should read it. As to why, so maybe backwards over here. As to why there's no tractate Hanukkah. It has something to do with this. Something to do with the Chashmonaim's failure. Rabbi, Yehuda Nossi, was a Zion. He was a descendant from Yehuda. And the answer that many give, not many, I should say, the Chassam Sofer, as to why there's no tractate, why Rebbe did not compile Mishnah for Hanukkah, because he's angry at the Chashmonaim. He was from Yehuda. Rabbi was a descendant from David HaMelech. And he had sour feelings. I'll just read it for you. You take your article, you can see it right here. Take a look at the article I gave you. Look at the second slide, page 90. There's another well-known answer ascribed. On the first page was one answer my brother gave. There's another answer that's known from the Chassam Sofer. Who was the Chassam Sofer? Anyone know who the Chassam Sofer was? Not from Chabad. He lived in the time of the Mittler Rebbe around. Hungarian rabbi, great sage. His name was Moshe Sofer. And the Chassam is an abbreviation. Chidushe, Toras Moshe Sofer. Chassam, Ches Tov Mem, Chidushe. Tov stands for Toras, the Mem stands for Moshe. Sofer, his last name was Sofer. And the Chassam Sofer writes, the Chashmonoim, so here read in English here, the heroes of Hanukkah were all righteous men, there's an N missing, who sacrificed their life on behalf of Judaism. However, after they wrested power from the Syrian Greeks, they failed to hand over the leadership to a descendant of King David, in accordance with the biblical command that royalty should be given to the Davidic dynasty. According to Nachmanides, Ramban, their failure to do was so egregious that the Hashmonaim dynasty came to a violent end. Herod murdered all the descendants. They were completely obliterated. The editor of the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, was a Zion, meaning a descendant of King David, and he zealously protected the integrity of the Davidic dynasty. He was so upset at the failure of the Hashmonaim that he penalized them by omitting the laws of Hanukkah in his redaction of the Mishnah. And that's why he decided, I'm not going to have a special tractate devoted for Hanukkah. This explanation, however, is problematic. There are many questions that have been raised, and many have doubted it, that this could not be upset. This couldn't have been said by someone by the Chassam Sofer. The most significant difficulty with this explanation is that it would have been unconscionable for the great and holy Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi to punish a holiday because of the failure of its original heroes. I mean, you don't punish Hanukkah. You want to punish the heroes. But to say, we're not going to talk about Hanukkah, we're not going to have a tractate devoted for Hanukkah, because I'm angry at those heroes who were involved in the miracle. That doesn't seem right. So my brother has a whole explanation over here, beautiful explanation, where he shows that the Chassam Sofer must have meant something else. So I'm going to leave that for you to read. I would like to, it's really phenomenal. You got to read it. And it will help you understand the real reason as to why there is no official tractate of Hanukkah. The fact there's nothing about Hanukkah in a Masechta is not because Hanukkah is any less important, but it's more important. The lack of a tractate devoted for Hanukkah extols the holiness of Hanukkah. How is that? Well, that's what the article explains. Okay, let's take a look at the Gemara now. Yeah, take a look at the second page. First page is the original. Again, it's 21b, Tractate Shabbos. Take a look at 21b, the second page, B2. On the left side. Okay. How many ways can you perform the mitzvah of Hanukkah? Let me ask you. How many ways can you perform the mitzvah of Hanukkah? Is there only one way or there are 3 ways? Anyone know? What happens if I light one candle each of the 8 nights? You did the mitzvah. One candle for the whole household. Even if I have 10 children or 10 people living there. And when one guy, the owner of the house, lights one candle each night, you're good. Nobody does it that way. This is one mitzvah that nobody does, just does it by the letter of the law. No one just does it just to be fulfill the mitzvah. We all go beyond the letter of the law. What's the second level? The second level is, if you want to really beautify the mitzvah, don't just let the owner of the house do it. Let everyone light their own candles. I'm not going to. I'm discussing the males. They also, women do light if there's no man in the house, and women do light also. But there's a reason. I'm not going to get into the reason right now why women are yotzei with either their brother or the father of the house. So all the men in the house will light their own candles, not suffice with the owner of the house. Light your own candle. Don't just be yotze with the owner's candle. Step 2. But all of you, the owner and every other male, could only light one candle each night, and you're still good. That would be step number 2. So not just the owner is lighting, everyone's lighting, but everyone's lighting only one candle. Step 3, called, if you want to go beyond that level, to step 3, not only does everyone light a candle each night, everyone adds a candle each night. So the owner and each member of the household, or guests over there, everyone lights their own candles and adds a candle each night. That's how we do it today. So it's interesting. It's the only mitzvah that has 3 levels. Usually you have one level, then you have another level. You have the mitzvah, then you can go beyond the level of the law. Here we go beyond. 3 levels. And guess what? You know any Jews who light one candle each night? Go to any house, Reform, conservative. Anyone who lights candles knows every night you add a candle. Nobody does it just the conventional way, the norm. We always do things in a super normal way. Why is that? So we're not going to see that in the Gemara. So Rabbi has a whole section for this. What is the reason why by Hanukkah everyone lights in the best possible way? And why are there 3 levels? But the Gemara is going to discuss this. I wanted to see, just to let you know what the Gemara is going to be discussing. Then the Gemara is going to also bring a view that the way to do the best is not by lighting 1 candle on night 1 and 2 candles night 2 and 3 on night 3, but go from 8 down to 1. Why would you go from 8 down to 1? Wouldn't it be better to go from 1 to 8? Don't we want to accelerate and make our days brighter and brighter and brighter as we go along? Why would you want to go down in holiness? Every Hanukkah night is a holy night. Why would you want to go down? That's a good question. But Shammai will explain, the Shammai school will explain why they feel it's better to go down than go up. Before we do that, I want to just share with you something interesting. The Rebbe once explained how every night of Hanukkah is unique. What's unique about the first night? Found the oil. The first night contains the whole miracle of Hanukkah. We found the oil. So all the oil that burned for 8 nights, thanks to the fact that we found the oil the first night. Beginnings are very special. It started the whole process. What's special about the second night? What is unique that no other night has, the second night? Nobody?
Yeah.
No, but what's special about the second night that no other night has? It's the first time we add. We're not happy with yesterday's accomplishments. Yesterday we started, but today we're starting to add. So it's also a beginning of saying what was good for yesterday is not good for today. We got to grow. Can't stay in one place. What's special about the third night? 3, when something happens 3 times, what does that mean? Hazaka. It's here to stay. Becomes a pattern. Whatever happens 3 times becomes a pattern. And now Hanukkah has been established. You lit 3 times, 3 in a row. 4th night. This is the first time where we have added 3 times. We make a chazaka in adding. 3 times in a row, 3 nights in a row, we added. That's also something special. You have 3 Hanukkah lit, but you didn't add 3 times. What's the 5th night special? No, this is different now. Now we're gonna switch a little bit. The first time where the Hanukkah lit is now shifting. There's more light than darkness. It's the only night of Hanukkah that cannot fall out on Shabbos. Is that good or bad? The only night of Hanukkah that can never fall out on Friday night is the 5th night. That's why it's special. What, they don't like Shabbos? No. So the Rebbe answers, a day like that can never fall out on Shabbos must have some negativity to it. It must be a dark day. And the 5th night of Hanukkah lights up even that darkness. A day that cannot get along with Shabbos, and Hanukkah even illuminates that day. That's how special the 5th night is. It can take the darkness of the lowest degree and transform that into light as well. The sixth night of Hanukkah is the only night that has to be Rosh Chodesh. Could be seventh night also, but the sixth night has to be Rosh Chodesh. So you have Hanukkah and Rosh Chodesh coinciding. The seventh night of Hanukkah, well, how many candles were in the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash? How many branches? 7. So when you have 7 Hanukkah lit, it really looks like the menorah. And the 8th night of Hanukkah, of course, is when we have the whole Hanukkah. We completed it. So every night really has something unique about it. Let's see the Gemara inside here. Tana Rabbana. This is a brisa. On the left side of the first page, right over here. The Gemara prescribes various levels of performing the mitzvah of kindling the Hanukkah lights. Tana Rabbana, the rabbis taught in a brisa. Again, a brisa is an addendum to a Mishnah. It's like a brisa is taught by Tanoim. It says the following: Mitzvah Chanukah. If you want to be yotze the mitzvah of Chanukah, the essential commandment of Chanukah lights is enough. It's sufficient. Ner, 1 candle, ish hu beisai. 1 light each night for a man, and this one man will be yotze motzi all the other people in the house. A man and his entire household can fulfill just 1 candle with 1 candle the mitzvah. You don't need more than 1 candle. V'ham hadrin, and those who want to do it better, who pursue the mitzvah and want mitzvahs to be done in a better way, ner l'cholecha b'yechad, 1 light each night for each and every one of in their household. V'hamahadrin min hamahadrin, and if you're super pursuant in mitzvahs, if you really want to be passionate about mitzvahs, so how would you fulfill the mitzvah of Hanukkah? And for those who most fervently pursue mitzvahs, Beis Shammai Omrim, Beis Shammai says, Yom Rishon Madlik Shmona. The first day you light 8 candles. Mikan va'elech. Henceforth, from the second night on, we continuously decrease the amount of candles. That sounds strange. We'll soon see why. Beis Hillel Omrim. This is how we follow. The house of Hillel says that on the first day, 1 kindles 1 light. Yom Rishon Madlik Achas. Mikan va'elech most of holech. And henceforth, continuously increases that amount each night until we get to 8 candles. Now the question is why? Why would Shammai say you go from 8 down to 1? Anyone know why? I don't think you would know, but any ideas as to why would you want to start from the highest number and go down to the lowest? Okay, the mystery. So the Gemara is going to give 2 reasons as to why this is. And there's a dispute amongst the later sages. What is Shammai's reason? How do you make sense out of that? Doesn't Shammai believe in the idea that you have to accelerate in Kedusha and holy matters, not go down? Amar Ula, Pligiba Trei Amaroi B'Ma'arava. Ma'arava means in the west. Bavel, Babylonian Talmud, was in the east of Israel. Iraq is Bavel. Iraq is east of Israel. So they refer to Israel as the west coast, That's the good west. In America, we also have the west, but that's not a very good west. It's not a holy west. The west coast is not exactly a holy place in America, but the west of Iraq is Eretz Yisrael, called Ma'arava, Ma'arava, meaning in the west. In Hebrew, you say Ma'ariv. Ma'arava is the Aramaic for the west. So Pligiba, there's an argument. Trey means 2. Amoroi, Gemara sages. And these Gemara sages lived in Israel. They disagree about the interpretation of the Tanoic dispute, of the dispute between the Tanoim. These are the Mishnah sages of Shammai and Hillel. Rabbi Yossi bar Ovin. What are the names of these rabbis? Rabbi Yossi bar Ovin and Rabbi Yossi bar Zvida. These are 2 Yossis. They have the same first name. One is Yossi bar Ovin, one is Yossi bar Zvida. Chadom, we don't know who said what, but we know one of them said, time of the Beis Shammai, the reason for Beis Shammai is going down, continual decrease from 8 lights to 1. Keneged Yomim Hanichnosin, is so that the various kindlings correspond to the number of days yet to come. Shammai sees the whole Hanukkah in one shot. They don't look at, they go 1 day at a time. Shammai has the whole Hanukkah right in front of their eyes. And they say when you have 8 nights of Hanukkah, when you have the first night of Hanukkah, you have a lot of work to do. You have 8 nights to work with, meaning there's a lot of darkness in the world. There's a lot of darkness in the world. On the first night, you need a lot more Hanukkah lit than you need the second night. And the second night, a little less than the third night. By the eighth night, one light of Hanukkah is enough because you already dispelled so much darkness. So Shammai, what's their rule? Get rid of the darkness. Fight the dark. Don't just add light. Approach. Confront the darkness. Confront it. Don't be scared. Fight it. You can do it. Shammai is a fighter, and they believe in fighting negativity. Well, if that's the case, there's much more negativity the first night than there is at the eighth night, because by the first night you haven't started yet. So the first night we have 8, the second night 7, and so on and so forth. Hillel says, don't fight the darkness, because when you fight the darkness, you get involved in war, and there are casualties in war. You can focus on the light. It might be a very little light. Yes, it's not easy to start with a lot. Start with one and work yourself up the ladder. And a little light will dispel a lot of darkness. So Hillel, in fact, the word Hillel is a name, but it also means brightness. It means sparkle. Shammai means you estimate. Be critical of the negativity in the world. Be careful. The word Shammai means be careful, evaluate, watch what you're doing. But Shammai is always aware and privy of the dangers that are out there, and he can see right through everything. Shammai sees the darkness